Morning. So, what's joy to do with your burnout recovery? Today, that's what I'm going to be talking about. And this came as a conversation because I'm developing my coaching programs, right? And I had to come up with something that felt a little bit more Andre. There was an element of most of my sessions so far, some of my sessions so far have been to the other person asking questions, etc., as a normal coaching session is, which is fine. But there was an element of it which felt like I need to be a little bit more me. And I did a little bit of exploration. And one of the things that I've spoken about before is the impact of joy on burnout recovery, right? Because we all know that burnout happens when there's an increased level of stress within the body. And when it's not managed over a prolonged period of time, it can lead to burnout, right? But what is stress? Cortisol, which is a hormone. And it's the stress hormone, which is triggered by things that might happen in life, which gives us kind of like this fight or flight feeling. It rushes us with adrenaline to be able to make decisions quickly. It shuts off certain parts of our bodily functions to activate and drive all the energy into our active functions. Sometimes we can get overloaded with that though. And so, what do you do when you're overrun with hormones and this energy? You need something to shift this energy, right? And there's a couple of ways to do this. One is to reduce this energy by slowing it down. That's where your active breathing and your grounding and things like that come in. That's when you're sitting there doing your and you start to think to yourself, okay, what can I smell, taste, hear, touch, um, feel, right? And you think to yourself, okay, I'm back in the room right now. This thing that is an external stressor isn't necessarily affecting me in this moment. I still have time to process. And it gives you just enough break to be able to focus on whatever you need to do. But there's another way. And the other way is to interrupt the flow of cortisol into your body with another hormone, say dopamine or endorphins, right? And these are feel good hormones. So, in the middle, what can be a stress inducing environment or time is you inject something that's the complete, almost opposite feel. And then the question is, how can you do that? And one of the ways you can do that is with things like art. You can use music, you can use movement, you can use painting, you can use anything that comedy, you can use anything that injects this positive feel good hormone into your body that interrupts the pattern of stress in the body. And so I started to think to myself, so how can I do that? And this is what I come up with, because obviously we know a picture paints 1,000 words, right? So let's paint some pictures. One of the things I found as well, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is first of all, not everyone is good, not necessarily good, but the idea of just talking through your issues isn't 100% effective. Sometimes there are some words or you can't find the word, or there's no word that exists to explain how you feel. It might be a combination of words, it might just be a gesture. If I go, then half of you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about or feeling about. There's no word for that, but there's a sound, there's a feeling, there's a facial expression that tells you everything you need to know about what's going on. Sometimes our feelings, what we're experiencing, cannot be expressed with words. So then what do you do in a coaching session? And one of the things that I'm leaning towards is finding other ways to find ways to express ourselves, because without expressing ourselves, we don't know what's behind what we're experiencing, right? And there's actually research to support this that shows the positive emotions, joy, can have a significant impact on your mental health and well-being. And it indicates that experiencing joy can reduce stress, boost resilience, and improve your overall happiness. And one of the things I found is happiness isn't just an emotional thing, it's also a psychological thing. It's as Mo Gaudat would put it, happiness is your relationship between your expectations and your reality. If your expectations are high and your reality is low, then you're not going to be happy. If your expectation is low and your reality is high, then you're not just going to be happy, you're going to be grateful, right? So there's the emotional side of things, which is to shoot your body with endorphins and feel good hormones in the middle of a stressful situation by using joyful practices. but there's also the idea of changing your mindset so you can actually be joyful in the state of mind as well. And so the program I'm developing looks at both of those elements. And so how do I do that, Andre? You might be asking yourself. And there's three main ways that I'm looking at it. First of all, like I mentioned this before, is creative coaching tools. And this is something that you learn when you're getting accredited anyway. So you might have the chair movement, which is something I've done before. I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. I'm on the director board for Damali Beautiful Visions, which is a community interest company which supports families who've experienced sudden bereavement of a young child. And one of the things that I did is a program called Reflect and Move. And what it was is we use movement and talking together within this program to help us work through grief. And often the same emotions that are the source of grief can often be what drive us towards burnout as well. So what we did was we used different exercises in the space. Some of them were to do with the individual, some of them used the group together to work together. We used music, we used movement, and we also broke down the session into activity and then reflection. So we didn't emotion, some kind of thought, some kind of experience or memory. And then we gave time to reflect on what that meant for us. Sometimes we hadn't have dealt with these things for a long period of time. Sometimes we may have. Sometimes it's going back over and looking at it from a new lens. But sometimes it's bringing it up into the body and finding out where in the body we're feeling this and creating a movement to express that, to bring it out, for example, right? And so this was extremely powerful that we found. We had a lot of tears, but we also had a lot of breakthrough. And it was one of these things where I felt like it needed to happen. And from doing that exercise, I realized how powerful movement and the arts actually are. But that's not it. That's not all. So, like I mentioned before, not everything is best expressed through words alone. So, that is why I'm bringing the other forms of creative coaching tools into this program, right? We'll explore creative expression through activities such as movement, painting, and other forms of art that connect you with your therapeutic and effective methods. It reduces stress, improves your mood, and promotes self discovery when words aren't enough, right? So what I've noticed is that you'll find that, okay, I'll give you an example of one of the exercises. If I'm watching you and you have the same gesture over and over again, whenever a word comes up, you shrug your shoulders or you grit your teeth or you do a fleeting motion with your hands or anything like that. One of the things we do in active listening as a coach is we pay attention to what your body language is telling us that what your spoken language isn't. So you might be smiling in the middle of something that is telling us something that's quite traumatic. So then we'll look into it. So what are the gestures? What are the body language that you're doing? And we'll create some kind of movement around that so that it brings it to your conscious level, because these are the things that your body is telling you, telling us that you may not be conscious of. Once we draw that out of you, we'll explore it. So I've noticed, for example, that whenever this person comes up into conversation, you shift yourself in your seat. Talk to me through that, and you talk us through that. Especially what happens, what that person means to you. How do you feel when they come into the room? Okay, cool. Can you show it to me? How does it feel? Like, is it a shrug of the shoulders? Is it a clenched butt cheek? Like, what does it look like? All right, we'll explore that. And then it's able to express that through your body in another way. So if you were to feel this, how would you be able to? We'll go into the situation where you imagine the person coming into the room. What else can you do with your body which can shed this feeling without it being the same, that a destructive method? For example, if you always want to swing at the person, what can you do with your body that can let go of that stress? Is it a breathing thing? Is it a shoulder roll? Is it a swing of the arms? Is it a dance move? Is it the Dougie? Like, what is it that would help you break that cycle of stress in the moment, right? Because sometimes all you need is something to put almost a little bit of lightheartedness into it to be able to give you enough space to be able to be like, okay, actually, this danger isn't as much of a danger as I thought it was. One of the things that I used to do with dance is when I'm really, really in a stressful situation, I take myself away. Like I would go to the toilet or to the lobby area or round the corner into a corridor where no one can see me. And I'd just shack out for like a minute, 60 seconds, as hard as I could. I'd jump. I'd maybe not shout off, but swing my arms. I used to do this for like a minute, just a minute. And when I tell you, the release that I would feel would be incredible. So in the sessions, we'll do things like that. Let's say, for example, we're getting to a stage where there's emotion building up in your body and you have nowhere to put it and you want to cry, etc. Let it out. Let it out. And then as it comes out, we'll find a movement, we'll find a sound, we'll find a gesture, which helps you release that completely. So these kind of things can help you explore what's actually going on underneath the surface that you may not even be conscious of that you're doing, may not be conscious of that you're feeling, and may not be conscious of that is influencing your behavior. So, like I said, we'll explore your emotions, release tension, and cultivate a more sustainable sense of joy and fulfillment from within the session. So all these things are things that you not only do within the session, but you can take outside of the session, and you can do anytime. All right. So the first thing that we're putting into this program is creative coaching tools within the sessions themselves. The second thing is the key, though. This one is the one that separates it, if I don't say so myself, separates it from every other coaching program I've seen. Burnout happens because we don't give ourselves space, we don't give ourselves time, we don't give ourselves grace to be able to experience whatever we're going through enough that we can create enough space and time to process it, right? We might be feeling overwhelmed with things, but we don't take time off. We might be stressed out at home with moving house, but we don't tell our partner and we keep it all bottled up inside. We might be experiencing grief from the loss of a loved one, but we don't go to therapy. We don't talk to anybody. We don't even tell HR that's what we're going through, even though there's statutory grief days and all things like that. We don't do that. We just keep going on this treadmill. We keep going on this train. We don't give ourselves time. And then what ends up happening without this release that joy can bring, that it continues to pile on. And there's only so much our shoulders can bear. We're not Atlas, the Greek god, right? We're not designed to hold all this stress within our body. And because we're not designed, it comes out in destructive ways: physical ailments, mental ailments, behavioral change, emotional burnout, all of those kind of things happen. And so the second element that we put into this is curated experiences. So these ones are only available for the ones which are 6, 12-week programs, or if you're one of the VIP clients where you'll be with me for a year. But I will be curating experiences for you within our program. And this came to me from a company called Journey, Journee, Journey. Yes, it was with 2 E's at the end instead of EY. Journey. And what they do is they're a subscription travel company. So you pay money every month to go into your account. And then when you have enough, then they curate a trip for you based off the form you filled at the beginning, which they ask you things like what excites you, what kind of holidays do you enjoy, where do you like to go, is it hot or cold climates, do you like to do activities or sit on a beach? They ask you all these questions, and then they curate a trip for you. All you have to do is press enter, and they send you the envelope with the dates attached. So you let them know what dates you're available, and then they'll curate for you trips on those days. And you just get an envelope through the mail with the date, time, and airport. Right? All you have to do is show up, and then you open up when you get to the airport, and it has your tickets in it, and then you find out where you're going to go. And when you land, they would have sorted out your internal travel, your hotel, your experiences, your excursions, all of that kind of stuff. Phenomenal idea for a company. I want to do that with you. So one of the things that I found really important with burnout that I've noticed online, a lot of people look at meditation as the as the solution. And it is definitely a solution, but it's not the only solution. And I'll give you an example. It doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody wants to go to a spa. Not everybody wants to have a massage. Not everybody wants to have hot coals on their back. Not everybody wants to walk in nature sometimes, to be honest with you. Some people want to go ape. Some people want to go skydiving. Some people want to go to a comedy night. Some people want to do paint and sip. Some people want a marathon. Some people want to volunteer. For some people to experience joy, they need to do something completely different to the masses because you are unique. You are not a copy and paste of the person next to you. You have your own interests, your own desires. And so, what I want to do is curate experiences based on what you enjoy, things that you might have forgotten about, things that you might have done as a child that you never really got round to. I host a lot of events for Arts Trust, and one of the things we had recently was a skate jam. And let me tell you, the look on some of these adults' faces to be able to skate like they used to do when they were a child was incredible. And for many of them, they were there with their children. You can see they were holding their children's hand, trying to protect them, but they were there for themselves, not just the children, right? It's the same thing as when you're watching cartoons with your niece or nephew, and then you realize they've left the room for 20 minutes and you're still sitting there in balls and just cracking up by yourself because this cartoon used to just brings back memories of when you were carefree. All those kind of things. Is it maybe like you want to go to a sing-along karaoke or movie night that you want to travel to a part of your city that you've never been to? Is there a museum or like a ballpark that you've never been to that's always been on your to-do list? What are the things that excite you that you want to do that you haven't got around to doing yet because life has got in the way? We would look into your schedule, create at least one day, maybe even two, depending on what it is that you want to do. And then with what you pay for the program, I will curate an experience for you, probably an A, B, and C scenario. You choose the one you want, and then I'll book it for you, send you the details, and then you go and have the time of your life. That's the idea. And that's the second element of this that I wanted to do. The third element is looking at it more holistically. So when it comes to coaching, I think I feel like we're still in a space where not everyone understands what coaching is, right? I still get situations where people come into the session and ask me to just tell them what to do, and that's not how coaching functions. But there are certain things that coaching does which I didn't want to learn. Okay. So one of the things that is proven to be a holistic way of finding ourselves healing and getting to a stage where we're able to reach forward into the person that we want to become is things like mindfulness practices, right? Meditation, breathing exercises, starting the session in a way that gets us into a coaching framework, right? Things like that, exercise, um, that cultivate presence, peace, gratitude, thinking of what for, and really deepen it. One of the things that I find that doesn't work for me in terms of exercises is just doing a list of three things that are like, yeah, I'm thankful for my mouse. I'm thankful for my bottle of water. I'm thankful for my hair on my head. Sometimes that doesn't really kick it. Sometimes it's not about what I'm thankful for me. Sometimes it's about what I'm thankful for other people. I'm thankful that that person is okay. I'm thankful that I have this person to speak to and they have me to speak to as well. I'm thankful for the people who I knew when I was a child who I'm still in contact with. I'm thankful for this, right? But actually touching it and being present with it. The idea that some people don't have clothes on their back, right? And actually thinking about it and spending time thinking about what could have been. Like sometimes the reason why we're here is just the luck of the draw. I was born into the right family in the right country at the right time to be able to be exposed to certain. And though I could have gone left and I decided to go right, I could have also gone all the way back, right, at any time. But I didn't. I'm here. And so sometimes, as coaches, I feel like it's important for us to look at the practices that we do normally, whether it's your morning routine, evening routine, and make sure we're keeping that because sometimes things fall apart when we don't. Okay. There's also the element of group and community work. So even though there's going to be individual one-to-ones, what the plan is to have them running concurrently and to have the option for group sessions. Because what I find is when it comes to burnout recovery, we need, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous or any of those kind of things. It's when it comes to recovery, you need support systems. And some of you and some of us don't have that. We may not feel like we can go to our friends or even our family. We may not have that relationship with our boss or HR that we can feel like we can say what we're going through without the risk of losing our job or having someone else take our spot. Like, we may not feel comfortable doing that. So we need an environment where we can say, okay, these people are all going through what I'm going through. This is a safe space for me to talk because they get it. And they can say, okay, cool, well, I've tried this, maybe you can try that. Or, oh my gosh, I never really thought about doing that. Or I found that doesn't work with me. But if you do this instead, it might have more long lasting effect, right? So you get community aspect and support. And it also builds belongings, a group of people that could become friends over time. And we all know that the older we get, sometimes the harder it is to create new friendships, to create deep bonds, right? And so that's something I didn't want to miss out on, because it also builds accountability. If I say I'm going to go on this trip or I'm going to take some time off, the group can be like, did you take, have you put your boundaries up? Have you expressed those boundaries to the people around you? Have you forced and maintained them? Or have you going back to the cycle where you're just saying yes to everybody and finding yourself overwhelmed again? What is your hand that has played in where you are right now? What are the things you don't have control over that you're beating yourself up about, that you need to let go of? What are those things? Like, sometimes you need those people around you to be able to help you go through these stages of burnout recovery. So those are the three things that I wanted to talk about in terms of what joy has to do with burnout recovery, right? It releases the feel good hormones that are important in burnout recovery because they break the pattern of stress, right? And the three elements that I'm putting into my program to help you do that is: one, creative coaching tools, which allow you to express yourself in ways that aren't just words; two, curated experiences through your time with me, whether it's 6 or 12 weeks, and definitely the people who are VIP clients for the year, is looking at monthly events within your schedule, which will allow you to release some of this stress and get back to your childhood self. And number three is the holistic elements like mindfulness and community support that you be building with the rest of the peers within the group. So if this is something you're interested in, DM me. I'm going to be launching this September, October, November. It's a 12-week program I'm going to be doing, and it's going to be 3K, 3,000. So if this is something you're interested in, get in touch with me. It's for people who are overwhelmed. It's people who have lost connection with their child self, people who are taking life way too seriously and it's not serving you anymore. The people who are waking up stressed, who, the moment you open your eyes in the morning, your mind is flooding you with things that are wrong in the world, that are wrong in your schedule, wrong in your relationship, right? And you have nowhere to go, you have no respite. Like, all the way through your day, you're constantly bombarded with these thoughts, you're bombarded with these news, and you can't seem to escape it. You have nowhere in your day, your week, your month to be able to have time for you. You don't prioritize yourself at all. Like, you're not even on your priority list. It goes family, friends, community, and maybe you might find yourself in number 12 after work and all those kind of things. So this is for you. You need these kind of spaces. This is for me too. This is something that I had to develop because I found myself in a state where I needed interventions from my friends to be able to help me do some of the simplest things that help me escape from burnout. And I want to be that person for you. So message me, DM me, you get more information. We'll hop on a call and explain exactly what it is and what to do next. All right. So thank you for spending time with me today. I wanted to keep this one short because yesterday was so long. And for those of you who were there yesterday, thank you for the time you shared with me. I was very well, if you were there, yeah. So I appreciate you and your time, and I will see you tomorrow for another episode, and I'm going to try and keep it at 7 a.m. I'm working on my morning practice, so hopefully next time it'll be at the 7 a.m. instead of, I think today it was more like